All right, welcome back to another episode of Run Mountain Peaks. Today we got a good one. Today we have a good episode. I was able to sit down with John Hirsch. This guy was a pro triathlete racing triathlons, some ultras, some trail races, shorter distance stuff, the whole kit and caboodle for 20 years, 20 plus years. He had a ton of good stories, a ton of good insights, and just an awesome dude. So many crazy adventures. So we got to hear about some of his adventures and his time over the years racing as a pro triathlete. I mean, this guy has been doing it for multiple decades, endurance sports at the highest level. So it was cool. We got to sit down and chat with him. And he also just finished the marathon distance of the Peak Snow Devil Snowshoe race, which those races, there's not a lot of information on the races online. And there's only a few finishers in the races. Like, there are some years where no one even finishes the races. So we got his story from this year. He came in second, and he was one of the only finishers. And we got a little bit more scoop into the Snow Devil races. So it was a great interview. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had fun doing it, and yeah, like I said, he just had so many good stories. You could tell he has just been someone who's been doing it for so long. Yeah, so it was awesome. And yeah, before we get into the interview, we are going to do a last skier standing reaction. So if you're here for the John Hirsch interview, skip ahead. I'll have the timestamps 10 or 15 minutes. But if you're here for the interview, you probably like epic endurance feats and efforts and races. And one went down this weekend, the last skier standing. So we're going to do a quick reaction on that before we get into the interview. And then after the interview, there's a couple more ultras that I just want to go through the results on. So we have all that documented, the TARC frozen Yeti results, 30-hour, 15-mile, and then the BURCS frozen Folly results. And at the end of that, those races, I'm going to do a trip report as well. So it'll be a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of great things in this episode. So stay tuned. Give the John Hirsch interview a listen for sure. This guy, yeah, it was an awesome interview. Okay, and then quick before we get into the episode, we're gonna do a 60-second training tip. This training tip is inspired by John Hirsch. We were talking about food. We did a little run after. We were talking about nutrition, diet, foods, and he was talking a lot about the glycemic index. He says it's big on the glycemic index, looking where that is for food. So before a workout specifically, you want to have high glycemic index foods. Basically, you just want something very sugary. It can be processed, something that's going to get into your bloodstream and your body's going to be able to use for your hard workout right away. A lot of the times in the morning, I'll just have some sort of bar and a banana. But if I had like a banana, a bar, and like an apple before a speed workout, I just bonk. I would get destroyed. It would be horrible. On those days, I'm having a little bit of like a sugar mix, or if there's a cookie laying around, maybe I'm having a cookie before it, or a gel or something like that. You want something that you're just going to be able to utilize for energy quick, and that is just like sugar, honestly, simply put. So I cut out low glycemic index foods before speed works, no banana, no apple, none of that stuff, and just do straight sugar. That's probably going to get you a better workout. Okay, that was the tip. If you have any questions, go to runmountainpeace.com and you can submit a question or email me there. Boom. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. The last skier standing. So this event, everyone's probably seen it, heard it. It's a backyard event every hour on the hour. Skiers skin up Black Mountain in Rumford, Maine, and then ski down, and you go until there's one person left. And this year, the event, there was a lot of hype going into the event, a lot of heavy hitters. I think the men's side had 3 people who had won it. So Brody Levin, Forrest Ledger, and then Lucas Genulitis. A couple other people that had gone well into the 50, 60-hour mark. And then the women's side, Hillary McCloy, Alana Jesse, both had won it. So there was a lot of hype. This is actually one of I think Drummond said it on his breakdown of the race. This is like their biggest event of the year. Lots of sponsors, lots of people watching, lots of people in it. So it was a huge event and pretty crazy to witness. So it was a really, really cold, windy. Everyone was saying the wind was a huge factor weekend. So the course record didn't go down, but Lucas Janulitis takes the crown back to back, defends his title from last year at the last year standing. In between those two titles, he won Bubba's ran 185 miles there. Um, just an absolute beast. And from the sounds of it, so the White Mountain Ski Company did a review or a praise race wrap up recap, and they were saying Lucas just looked so good at the end. Just no one was even close to like the whole time. He was just like automatic, didn't even flinch, doing fast laps. Um, so a crazy good performance by him. And then on the women's side, Brianna Karboski. If you didn't know, now you know. She goes 63. Oh, so Lucas goes 65 laps, 70,000 feet of gain. So almost 3 straight days. The assist goes to Brianna, who went 64 laps. So basically 70,000 feet of gain. And um and breaks the women's record by over 24 hours, over 24 laps. The previous record was 39. I think Alana Jesse hit that this year and then dropped shortly after. So Brianna was the lone female for over a day. Just a baller performance. Beat out Brody Levin, Forrest Ledger, two guys that had won it in previous years. And yeah, it just seemed like an epic throwdown. And I always love, like, in these events, the backyard events, it's more just, like, grinding, who wants it more, who can just take care of problems and just never give up, always go out for that next lap. And I think it's funny at the end of the race, they had, like, interviews on the Instagram, and both of them, they're just like they've been going for 3 straight days. It's like, "Oh, how did it go?" And they're just like, "Yeah, no, it was yeah, wow, I don't yeah, it was hard." It's like the brain is, like, just so done. It's, like, moving in slow motion. And in Lucas's post-victory interview, I think it's always funny at the end of these events, like, people's brains are just, like, moving slow motion. They're so tired, they've been going for so long. It's almost, like, anticlimactic where they're just so tired, they can't be like, "Woo, yeah, like, I won," or whatever, and some people, that's not their style, but Lucas gave kind of a baller interview, and I think one of the things that I thought was the best, I think Drummond had asked him, "How much longer do you think you could have went?" And going into this event, there was a lot of talk about going 100 hours. I know, yeah, Brody Levin. I didn't really know of Brody Levin. Huge following. It seems like he hyped up this race a ton and got a lot of people to come out, like the big names, to try to go to 100, which was cool. Um, but, yeah, there was a lot of 100 talk, a lot of expectations, we will say, and, in the interview, Drone was like, "How long do you think you could have gone?" And I think Lucas was kind of like, it's hard to say." And I think in one instance, you could take that as, like, these events, you never know what's gonna pop up, you never know what's gonna happen, who knows how long it could have gone? But in a different sense, I think you could have taken that as I was going 100. I just needed someone to come with me. I am the king. I am champ. Give me everything. Do not ever doubt me again. Because going into this race, I think on the White Mountain Ski Company preview, Drummond was like, "No, Lucas is the favorite. He has to be the favorite." And there was a little bit of like, I'm sure there were so many good people coming out that everyone following the event probably had a different person that they thought could pull it off. And I think Lucas put all of that talk to rest. He is the king. He is forever the favorite. Um, yeah, just an animal. And he's done last year standing a handful of times, or at least 3 or 4 times, and then Bubba's 3 or 4 times. So it's just like has learned the format. Like a lot of the really just people who dominate ultras, long distance ultras, I feel like it takes him a few years of racing, and you never start out and just win every race right from the jump and just always win forever. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you hit that learning curve and you start winning, a lot of these people just have it figured out and just can't be beat. So we'll see how long. I don't know. We'll see if Lucas wants to ever come back. But yeah, as long as he shows up, he's the favorite moving forward. And Brianna too. I mean, Brianna had probably as equally impressive or not more impressive than Lucas, just because she broke the women's record by 24 hours. It's like no woman has ever come close to her lap count. So anytime she shows up, she's the favorite now too. So that was the event. It was a cool event. It was a big event, fun to follow, and yeah, people throwing down. Oh, and one other thing about the White Mountain Ski Company preview podcast and wrap up podcasts. I don't know who Russ Grant is or Russell Grant on there, but he was making me die laughing. I thought he had so many good jokes in the podcast. I thought he was staying in the pocket, good timing, good delivery, good on the mic, because I have learned that it is not easy to turn the camera on, lights shining in front of a mic and land good jokes. I feel like a lot of times, I feel like I'm fairly funny, can land some jokes in person. I like to joke around a lot. But sometimes when the camera's rolling, I can't do it. The timing's off. It comes out weird. And I'm like, I could have said it so much funnier. I don't know what happened. So I thought he was funny and I wanted to give him some credit there. So shout out. But okay, that is the last skier standing update. That was the race. That was my reaction. Cool race. And now we're just gonna go right into the John Hirsch interview. Hope you guys enjoy. All right. Well, today we are joined by a very special guest. He is a 20-year pro triathlete, a 4-time top 10 pro Ironman finisher, which is crazy. 3-time world champ, Spartan Ultra beast, John Hirsch. Thanks for doing this, John.
Thanks. Elite Masters, but
Elite Masters.
But I was in the top. I was 3rd, 7th, and 10th overall, so not terrible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. Yeah, so I had heard about you and kind of like went down a John Hirsch rabbit hole, which we're gonna get firsthand today. You did the Peak Snow Devil Snowshoe race last month.
I did.
In January. So I want to talk about that, but I feel like you have so many stories, probably so much background. We got to do a little background first. So where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And how did you get into triathlons, endurance training, going on in that sport?
So I was a soccer player growing up. Grew up in Connecticut, big soccer state. Ended up going to Northeastern to play soccer. Didn't have the greatest career. Transferred out. Ended up at Division III Connecticut College. And then where I also didn't have the greatest career. So when I left college, I was still kind of hungry for sports. I think a lot of college students and a lot of college athletes kind of come out of college burnt out, but I actually came out kind of with a little bit of like really motivated, a little bit of chip on my shoulder maybe. And I felt I could do more. So I started messing around with a bunch of different sports. It was the heyday of mountain biking. So I ended up doing some mountain biking racing, but honestly, I was really mid. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. And I did okay. But again, it was still like, it kind of demonstrated like mid potential. But I had been a surfer. So someone suggested I'd try a triathlon, and I did, pretty well. And I think if you're not good at 3 sports, you're really good at triathlon. So that kind of then I found my way to triathlon, loved it. Kind of got obsessed with the Ironman and Kona, and then went to Kona in 2003 and realized that if I wanted to stay in the sport, because I was going into public interest as a lawyer, I needed to make some money. So I turned pro in 2004, then had my first kind of breakout race in 2005 when I took finishing the top half of Ironman Florida. And then kind of ground out. It's wild how fast you go from like 10 hours and above to sub 10 and how long it takes. You can knock off like the first hour in like a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then it takes like a decade to knock off the next hour.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but I kind of grinded it out. And then I had probably my best race in 2010 when I finished top 10 amongst the pros at Ironman Lake Placid. Yeah. So yeah, I think and then, continued to race for a long time. When I turned 40, I saw that the Spartan people at the time had an Masters Elite. So they had a separate division for elite athletes who were over 40. And I did a couple of their races wildly unprepared the first time, which was hysterical in retrospect. I showed up with 7-ounce racing flats for their race. I had 6 days to prepare. I met one of the guys who worked for them at a triathlon So where I had actually won. So he was like, hey, you should consider, we're trying to recruit, elite athletes. You should consider going over Spartan races. And he put me in touch with them. So I had 6 days to prepare. Literally had never done an obstacle course race. I watched some YouTube videos. But I finished just outside the top 20 of one of their major events in Pennsylvania. And I was like, I think I was like, I'm pretty good at this. 2, this is really fun. And it felt fresh after, at that point doing, 15 years of professional racing and triathlon. I was like, this is going to be a blast. I need something new. I need something invigorating. They were an emerging market. So there was a lot of opportunity there for new sponsors and for, at the time, Spartan Racing was taking pretty good care of their pro field. I thought, yeah, this is cool. I'll do this for a couple years. And then I saw that they had an ultra distance event, which they've now, I think, tried to make it more standard as a 50K. But back then it was just kind of all over the place. And I think some of the races were 36 miles or whatever like that with 70 or 80 obstacles. And I just loved it. It was perfect for me. So, the first one I did was their World Championships, I think. And I was 3rd overall. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So yeah, focused on that for a few years. Went back to triathlon after that to do Norseman, which is one of the craziest Ironmans there is. And often kind of the race that everybody does because they want to at the end of their career. It has a long history of all the top pros, or not even top pros. I'm not a top pro, but a lot of people, it's just such a crazy, wild event that a lot of people end up heading that way at some point, even though there's, the prize is a t-shirt.
Yeah. Well, I looked into it a little bit, but I want to get the full story firsthand. So this is one that you did a couple years ago, 2023, was it?
2024.
2024.
Wait.
Okay.
Yeah, 2024.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I guess we could dive into that story right off, because I know you said it's pretty exciting. I saw something about swimming through packs of orcas. Is that the story out there?
No, that's not that. I've never swam through packs of orcas.
Okay,
let's be clear. No, Norseman takes place in Norway. Thus the name. But it's famous as being the hardest race in triathlon, the extreme triathlon.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of, now they have their own series called Extreme Triathlon or X-Tri. And the swim takes place in the fjord, which is 49 degrees. They take you out on a boat 4K from shore, and you jump in, and it's dark. You jump into freezing cold, dark water. They light a fire on shore, and that's what you swim towards. It is awesome. It is and it's just fantastic. So, but yeah, it's real cold. It's single digit Celsius, or 40, under 50 probably. And you can see the snow on the mountains that melts into the fjord that you're swimming in. And then it's a standard 112-mile bike, but there's 10,000 feet of elevation gain, and you go up onto a giant plateau that's at high elevation, and there's snow. It was 36 and raining when we did that section. And I got really hypothermic. And then you do a marathon. The first half's flat, but the next 13 miles takes you to the second highest peak in Norway. So it's, I think, 7,000 feet up.
Yeah. Wow.
So you've done all of that to get to the base of a 7,000 foot ascent. Wow. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is gnarly. How do you qualify for that? I'm assuming lots of people are trying to get into it.
Yeah, they have a lottery. They also have which is very competitive. They also have some spots that are merit based.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at the other X Tri races now. So like Canada Man, which is not far from here in Vermont, they have spots, and similar to how Kona does Ironman.
Yeah. Wow, that is super cool. Yeah. So yeah, I know that is super gnarly, and that is one of my destinations. I would love to go to Norway.
Great, highly recommend. Love Scandinavia. Huge
Yeah.
fan of Scandinavia.
Yeah. Have you been out there more than once, or just for that event?
Oh no, I did the ITU long course World Championships as a pro there in Denmark.
Wow.
So that was my first time racing there. And then I also bumped around. Both times I added on trips so that I could see stuff.
Yeah.
So went to Sweden, and I love that too.
Yeah. So it seems like you've been everywhere. So you've been racing pro triathlon for 20 years. One, I guess you said you went pro or got your pro card in 2004, right? So talk to us about, I guess, what does that mean? So that you get to enter in all of the pro races or the elite fields. Has that changed over the years?
Oh yeah, they've changed the standards like 1,000 times. And at some point they changed it so you had to requalify every 2 or 3 years too. So I don't actually even know what the standards are now since I've retired, but they're pretty strict. I think you have to be in the top 5% of the winning time of a race that has $5,000 or more dollars, which I think is the standard. And then there's a whole bunch of others. There's like, I literally am a lawyer, and I need to go and try to figure out the qualifying rules. But because there's other ways to qualify, like there's you can get in through being one of the top collegiate racers or USAT nationals, or there's like a bunch of different criteria. But they're all very, very, they're all very, very strict. When I was racing, there were 300,000 people in USAT, and only 300 people had pro cards.
Okay.
So
wow.
It was hard.
Yeah.
The standards have never been easy. And then the requalifying, always was, dicey, especially for me.
So so every couple of years, was that the same back in the day? Because I know like the sport has blown up. How have you seen it change over the years, specifically like the pro fields?
So the pro fields have gotten faster and faster and faster, bigger and bigger and bigger. You would see some big changes every Olympic cycle, because once the triathlon got in the Olympics, every 4 years you had these athletes who had been relatively supported by their Olympic teams decide to like go into half Ironmans and full Ironmans, and that would always raise the quality of the racing. And obviously, just being an Olympic event brought all this science and technology into the sport, and that's the biggest change since I started. It went from very very theoretical, like you trained on a bunch of theories that you read in books that people hoped was accurate, to now incredibly analytic data driven training. And you're seeing that in running too, right?
Yeah.
So, and cycling too. So, it's not surprising that you're seeing it in triathlon, which is obviously comprised largely of those two sports. So that's the biggest change, is that everything now has become incredibly scientific. And as the sport evolves, the technology also evolves. Triathlon doesn't really hold back when it comes to technological innovation in the same way that like cycling tries to kind of slow it down. But you don't see that in triathlon. In triathlon, they're very happy to embrace new technology. So you're seeing, huge gains in terms of aerodynamic efficiencies, tires, tire pressure, the aerodynamics of tires. And so you're seeing, the bikes that people are going to race on, this year are nothing like the bikes we raced on, in 2004. It's just, it's a NASA quality level of science that goes into the aerodynamics and the integratedness of the rider and the bike into one aerodynamic equation that they're trying to push through the air, now what is incredibly fast rates of speed.
Yeah. No, I feel like I see some of the top end bikes, and I definitely don't know like it. They just look insane.
They're wild. And also carbon bladed shoes is a huge change in the sport since I raced professionally. And then the last one is nutrition. I think we used to think of nutrition as a floor, as more of a ceiling, and they think of it as a floor in terms of how many grams per hour. And I think Ironman has become an eating competition with a swim, bike, and run component.
Mhm.
It's just, people are just trying to, they're realizing just how beneficial it is to get down as many carbohydrates as they can per hour and just keep that furnace, going.
Yeah.
And it's just made the times, incredibly fast.
Yeah. You see it in running too. Like it's just high carb is one of the big trends going on right now. Just how much food can you stuff in your face? And especially with ultras, I feel like that's that's been a talking point forever. Like if you're doing, and Ironman too I think the training and the distance is similar. Just because a longer race, you just need to eat a ton of food. And yeah, just pushing the limits, the more that you can actually absorb, the bigger engine fire you're going to be able to burn. So you said you focused on Ironman distance. Did you do Olympic distance, or did that change over your time in the pros?
So when you get a USAT card, you qualify, you can just jump into anything.
Okay. You're good to go.
But I was not good at short course racing. So I quickly realized that I wasn't even really good at halves, frankly. And once the Olympic guys started doing half Ironmans, everybody quickly realized that the halves were the domain of the speedsters, not the endurance guys. So really, I really started to gravitate towards iron distance races. And then I started to kind of almost subspecialty into like just the really hard Ironman races. Like even the fast Ironman races, I tended to lag behind. I needed really hard, really horrific, really brutal Ironmans like Placid, which has, a ton of elevation on the bike and the run, or they used to run a race in Louisville in the summer, which was carnage. It was 90 something degrees and 1,000,000% humidity, and you would just literally pass people who were on the ground curled up in a ball with their shoes off.
Sounds like an ultra.
Yeah, exactly. So those were the races that I found, like those were the ones I excelled at, the ones that were just hellish.
Yeah. That's honestly how I kind of find myself in the running space. I think the longer and the more technical, steep, that's the stuff that I like to do. So definitely kind of like a similarity there. This is something I think about a lot when I'm doing my training, because everyone knows like ultra running, you have to just put in a lot of volume. And I think triathletes, I think put the most volume in out of any endurance athlete. So about grinding hours, especially at the Ironman distance. How did you view like getting enough volume, but also keeping your shorter speed and strength like good enough to compete with, obviously not like the speedsters like you're talking about, like you don't have to be able to all out a 5K with the top guys, but how did you balance that in your training? And did that evolve over the years of, I actually don't need as much volume, or I need more volume and less speed? How did you balance that equation?
So the first thing, and shout out to Ben Kessel at Priority Fitness. He is an absolute amazing strength training coach, and he would just give me these great strength training workouts. So in terms of strength, I believe strength is a thing you can do in the gym. I'm a big proponent of strength training, and that's, my career went until I was into my late 40s. So, after 30, you really have to be getting into the gym really aggressively. And you should always be getting into the gym really aggressively. But if you want to have a long career and you want to keep muscle mass and you want to keep that power, that's a strength thing. The Ironman isn't who's fastest, it's who's strongest. And it's who's strongest when it gets hard.
Yeah.
And so I always found that was really important. And I also think that's true for ultras. When you're running a relatively pedestrian pace, it's not about whether or not you have speed. It's whether or not you can just keep going. And that's a strength issue. So for me, I did start to focus more on strength as I got older. I think that's the arc of most masters athletes. And that makes sense. In terms of speed, I actually did a fair amount of high-end speed work, consistently, but I did it almost kind of lucked into it. I love bike racing. So I would do criteriums. I was a okay Cat 3, but that would also sometimes allow me to race with the professionals and the 1s and 2s. For anybody who knows cycling, they do a 1 through 5 classification. So 1s are pros, 2s are basically almost pros, pro-ams, and then 3s are kind of the like best amateurs. And 4s are kind of everybody, and then 5s are the newbies. So I had a category 3 card, so I could do I could race some really fast guys, and just getting in those pelotons and just begging to hang on and not get dropped was just, it was these amazing all out efforts. It wasn't the most like organized intervals, but I would do that basically once a week all summer long. There was a bunch of great criterium races in places I lived, and they were just these epic throwdowns. So I always had an incredible amount of high end speed, even when I was doing super long stuff, and I would just do super long stuff and high end speed. Yeah, you can, and actually, I would even do cyclocross in the winter. Sometimes I would do multiple races because I could do, the 1-2-3 race, then the 3-4 race, and then, the 35 plus race or whatever. And I would race an hour, ride an hour, race an hour, ride an hour, race an hour for a 5-hour day. And with tons of just super high end, all out, efforts, which, is kind of the new thing, right? I mean, I think a lot of people are realizing that a lot of high-end interval training is, a huge part of, an elite training program at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one thing. Ultra runners, I try to repeat it, but everyone should be doing speed work. Even if you're doing, 100 milers or whatever it is, you're always going to benefit from it. What kind of training hours were you doing like in your peak racing days? Just to give folks, because some people follow triathlons, but I think this may shock some people's minds.
So the biggest week I ever did was at my training camp in Spain, Strong Leg Bull, which is coming up, actually. It's still going on. I'm still the organizer and operator of it, but now I go just because it's fun, not because I have any of my own ambitions. But we have some really fast people there and who are coming up, and I love seeing them kind of get better. But the biggest week I ever did was I did a 42-hour training week there.
Whew.
Yeah. So that's what, 7 hours a day? Yeah. 7 times 7? No, it'd be 49. 7 times 6. No, am I right? Yeah, 7 times 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So I averaged
6 hour days.
Whew. Which meant there were some like 8 and 8-hour days in there. But yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, I would do like a strength thing every morning before the camp even woke up, just solo. Then I would go for a run, which had like, it started out with like 10 people, and then by the end of the camp, there was like just me. Then we would ride like 4 or 5 or 6 hours, and then we'd swim. Yeah, it was a lot.
That is, train and eat.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's all we had. I mean, we bring a chef, and we have bike mechanics, and we have the whole. So all you have to do is train and eat.
Yeah.
And when you live like that, you can train a ton. I mean,
yeah.
I used to call it being an iron monk. I would come to Vermont sometimes, or my coach, shout out to Jim Ortellum at the Block Island Sports Shop. But he would, I'd go to Block Island and live in a shed and just train, just like me, a shed, like, and my bike, and that was it. And it was great. Like you can train so much more than you can even imagine when you just simplify it down to train and eat.
Yeah. That's something that I'm starting to dabble in, like really being aware of how much like outside stress, outside of training that I'm kind of carrying. And if I can shed some of that and just train more, like that is just ideal. And it sounds like you did that for a long time.
I did. It was really fun. By the way, it's also really fun.
Yeah. Did you, so full-time triathlete, part-time lawyer, was that consistent throughout? Did you take periods where you didn't work, or you were just always a warrior?
No, I always had the part-time job.
Yeah.
It kind of prevented me from burnout. I think it's one of the reasons my career was so long, is that I would usually have like a 1 peak season, or like a false peak and then second real peak season. So I think I didn't burn out as much as other people. And then I would take like the full off season to really focus on like getting some work done. And my job had a lot of comp time. So I would work a lot of extra days to get more vacation time. So I would end up with like 12 weeks of vacation by the time like I really needed to knuckle down and train. And that was just perfect. Like it was a really good balance. Also, the financial stress of trying to make it as a pro triathlete was really not my favorite.
Yeah.
So it just took some of that edge off too, and health insurance and boring stuff like that. But also, the other part of this is I absolutely love my job. Like I just did my first Ironman when I was a first year law student, and then I graduated, and I had this crazy month where I graduated. Or not month, but I graduated. It was like over the summer. I graduated, passed the bar, and qualified for Kona all in the same.
Oh my god!
All in the same summer, and got my first job.
Wow!
My dream job, which is still the job I have. So I'm a public interest lawyer. I'm a public defender at the Legal Aid Society. It's my dream job. It's always been my dream job. So the idea of giving it up was never something I wanted because I loved it, and so that was easy for me. Balancing the training and the work life was hard. Being part-time was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We had that option because we're unionized and we have a pretty strong union, and they advocated for some real benefits like that. And yeah, without that, it would have been impossible. But I loved it. I also had a really, and still do have a really robust coaching business.
Mm-hmm.
I really love coaching. I've always had that as part of what I do. I carry a maximum of 13 athletes. So I currently have, I think, 12. So if there's one more person out there,
one free slot, guys.
one slot's open. But yeah, I love coaching. I always loved coaching. And that was always a really good way to, integrate the freedom of coaching and travel and training and racing, and just being able to like bring my athletes to Spain and get, kind of multitask my training needs along with my need to have a job.
Yeah. No, yeah. It definitely makes sense. How long did it take for you to get into coaching? Because I'm starting to dabble in the coaching realm, and I'm kind of looking at it like, I'm sure it probably helps you. One, just working with other athletes and seeing other people's training and how they respond to things. Did it help you with did you see like an improvement with your own training? Like, maybe I'm doing too much right now, or maybe I'm not doing enough. I need to try. Like, how did coaching help your own path as an athlete?
That's a great question. I think that there are moments where I'm like, what would I say to me if I was a coach? And that definitely helps. But also, being an athlete has helped my coaching insofar as like, even though I know I'm being irrational, like for example, when things aren't going well, most athletes will say, "Oh, I need to double what I'm doing. It's not working." And actually you're burnt out and you need to do half of what you're doing.
Yep.
So knowing that I have the same tendencies as all my athletes has really helped me be a better coach. I don't know if I actually can avoid being an emotionally charged athlete myself. Like, I don't know how much coaching helps me as an athlete, but I know how much being an athlete helps me as a coach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Nice.
Yeah. In terms of getting into it, when I qualified for Kona, I realized that I had done something that was the Ironman World Championships in Kona are really hard to get into. They're incredibly competitive. So when I qualified for Kona, I realized like, okay, I'm now amongst a high enough level of athletes in the sport that I probably have something to give back.
Yeah.
And I've put in so many hours of both training and learning that at this point, I felt like I had, if not a PhD, a master's degree in triathlon at that point.
Yeah.
So.
No, yeah.
That was the real turning point for me. I was like, oh, I can, I'm credentialed.
Yeah. What year did you first qualify for Kona?
2003.
2003.
Oh, actually, I qualified in 2002, but I qualified at Wisconsin, which, because it's late, you go the next year. So I actually got one of the maybe the first qualifying spot for the 2003 race.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was the first race they were handing them out at.
Yeah. What was the winning or the course record at Kona back then?
Oh,
do you remember?
Nobody broke 8. I mean, I think like mid 8s would have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, now it's, they've demolished that.
Yeah. That is crazy. It is great. Yeah. No, it's a fun event to follow. What was your Ironman PR? I think.
Oh, it's not good.
No. I mean, I think you're going to undersell. It's
not. It's 9:27.
9:27.
Which is not that fast. I mean, now it wouldn't even be pro. I mean, I actually at 9:27, I'd have trouble qualifying for Kona, I think, for a competitive age group.
You're also on a massive bike in a heavy bike, back in the day.
Yeah, but no, my results were always based on doing harder courses. Like when that was said on the one time I raced a relatively flat and fast course. I just wasn't great at flat and fast courses. Like I needed, all my top 10s were on psycho hard courses like Placid or Louisville or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. That just wasn't my forte. I jokingly said that I could do an Ironman on a fixie. I have one gear. It was an all day gear. It was good. And the race was, really hard. I stayed at that one speed and could grind it out, but I just did not have that like top end speed that you needed for those fast courses when people are starting to go, like now those courses, people would all be, the top 10 would be, around 8 hours or faster. But back then it was, anything, that 8 to 8:30, and then you'd see like the for the winning times, and then you'd see the rest of the field, the top field come in, between 8:30 and maybe 9. I think the 9:27 though was good enough for like 11th or 12th. I think it was 11th or 12th, and I remember being kind of proud of myself and also kicking myself because I believe if it was 11th, the person who kicked me out of the top 10, one of them was somebody I coached.
Okay.
So I was really proud as a coach that I coached a pro into the top 10 of what was actually not an Ironman. It was an Ironman distance. It was Rev 3 Cedar Point. This was, for those of you who are old heads, will remember that it was a really great competitor Ironman came onto the scene, and they tried to pair their races with amusement parks.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like really family friendly. It was a great idea. Yeah. So the Sandusky, Ohio is home to Cedar Point, one of the great amusement parks of all time, and one of the great roller coasters of all time. And so you would ride roller coasters the day before, and then they like gave the athletes like passes to the roller coasters. It was awesome. And then you'd race the next day.
Wow. Yeah. What a business plan.
It was great. Yeah, super. And that like makes sense, right? Like if you have family, if you bring like your kids and your partner to some race and you're like, okay, I'm going to disappear for 9 to 17 hours. Like that's not fun for them. But like if you're at an amusement park, that's pretty good. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. But anyways, they ended up not being able to kind of compete with Ironman. But anyways,
is what it is. You had mentioned the X-Tree series, which are kind of seems like more intense triathlons, like you were talking about. And so was Norseman one of those?
Yeah, Norseman's their World Championships.
Okay.
So Norseman was the original. It was their World Championships. And then they were like, hey, we have a huge huge lottery system. We can't accommodate everybody. You have to have your own crew. So you have somebody drive, kind of like cycling. You have like a follow car, and they do your own feeds and stuff. So it's not like Ironman where they have or a marathon where they have aid stations. You have to be your own aid station. So because of that, they also limit the number of participants. So they really couldn't make their race any bigger. So they decided, we should put these on other places. So they made a tour, the X-Tri Tour. The North America stop was in Quebec, about like 6 hours from here at Lake Monique. And you climb this beautiful mountain, like 4,000 foot mountain. And I loved it because I had been doing the Spartan races and I hooked on trail running. I was always into trail running. I did all of my training on off-road, basically. 90% of my runs were on dirt. And then, so I really loved it because it really incorporated all this great trail running. Canada Man, I think is, that almost all of it was on dirt, and, including the ascent, the technical at times ascent up to the top, up to the summit finish.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They almost always try to have either a summit finish or at least a mountain. Races. I mean, that's kind of how they make it extreme. Yeah. So I think for trail runners, if you're looking for that trail runner vibe, but you're a triathlete, this was that. Yeah. Cool vibe, nice, very different than triathlon, very different than Ironman, where you have a lot of type A people who are super intense. This is much more like the trail running community of people are mellow, people are happy, people are like kind of low key when it comes to like materialism. And, it's just, I love it. And the people who put on Norseman are fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when did you start dipping your toes into the ultra scene? I know you said, the ultra OCR Spartan courses, but you've done a little bit of ultra running outside, or trail running, I should say, outside of triathlons.
Yeah. So for fun, one winter I did there's a New Jersey Trail Series is a great like low key local series not far from New York City, and I did a bunch of their halves. I did a bunch of their I did their marathon. They do a crazy good winter series, and they're really hardcore about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just like, no, this is happening. So I did a half marathon where I was in the lead, so I broke trail the entire way.
Oh my gosh!
And it was like maybe 3 or 4 inches of snow, but it had frozen. So at the end of the race, my shins were bloody because I kept hitting the frozen snow and it kept cutting my shins. That sucked. So I did like I did a bunch of their races, like 10Ks, half marathons. And then they have right after New Year's, they always do a marathon and ultra marathon at the same time, along, I think, with a half and a 10K. It's like, one of those like 10K loops. So I did their marathon. I, believe it or not, tied for first place.
Tied for first.
Yeah, me and the other guy were like, let's not sprint this out.
Yeah, let's make this a photo finish.
Yeah,
at the same.
And that was in like pouring rain. And then I did, I think, one of their marathons, and it snowed the whole time, and that was great. It was like trail running, but snowed. Then I was like, I should do their 50K. So I did their 50K, and that was my first. I think it was my first official ultra. And then I just, I didn't do much until the Spartan people came knocking.
Mm.
And when I started with the Spartan races, I did their big pro thing is what they call the Beast, which I think now is a 15K, but it was, which, it's about that. I think it was about that back then. And that was their biggest, that was where they had TV stuff and prize money and stuff like that. But then when I realized that they had an ultra, I was like, oh no, it's so much more my wheelhouse and so much more fun and much more about what I'm about. And that's when I really started training like an ultra runner. Mm-hmm. That was when I did all of the stuff that ultra runners did, because I knew I was going to be out there. Because when you add the obstacles, it really takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
So you really need to think of it as in terms of time, and so you think of it in terms of running for. I think some of them, I looked back recently actually, and I saw that some of my results were somewhere between like 7 and 9 hours.
Okay.
So you really need to be able to be on your feet and moving for 7 to 9 hours, which is much more like an ultra race.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's when I started really training for ultra stuff. So that was like 2016.
2016
was the Spartan part.
Yep. No, very cool. When you're training for that stuff, you talked about time. Are you doing any like obstacles for long extended periods of time, or did you do any unique training?
Yeah, so actually I did a bunch of obstacle stuff like gym, which you kind of like recreate in gyms, like the strength training stuff for gyms. So you figure out like, okay, I'm going to need to really, like, for me, it was like I had no forearm strength. So it was like, okay, I got to like work on all this forearm stuff. And then it was like building some of their obstacles. I was like, okay, how do you climb a rope? I bought a rope and learned how to climb a rope like efficiently and quickly.
Yeah.
And then I would do like some runs where I would like mix some of that into the middle just to get good at it. But ultimately for the Ultra Beast, it was almost easier just to work on the obstacles as one workout and then go and I have a loop here. It's an out and back that's like 24 miles. So I would do that like back-to-back days. Yeah. And it was great. Like it went up a ski resort called Haystack Mountain and then across the ridge. And then I went down a ski resort called Mount Snow and then refill everything because they had, you have the like infrastructure of a ski resort. Yep. Water. And then I would do a U-turn and then do it in reverse. So you got 2 good, like, 2,000 foot ascents per run, which I thought was pretty good. Plus all the, ups and downs.
Yeah. And that's typically what the Spartan Ultras are. It's usually you get a lot of vert.
Yeah.
Right?
They try to. I mean, they have a couple of flat ones in like the South that I don't think they can.
There's no hills here, guys.
Yeah, like they do. I think one's in Texas and one's in North Carolina, or I don't know if they still are, but they had that. But no, they always did their big races. Killington in Vermont is still like their big race. Yeah, their world championships have kind of floated around, but like Tahoe was the 3 years I did it. Right, was up and down the Tahoe ski mountain, which was like 6,000 feet, 9,000 feet. It's up there. Wow. Yeah. So you have to deal with altitude too, which was not my favorite. And then I always struggled at altitude. Anyways, yeah. So that was so they like up and down. Yeah. They prefer mountains.
Nice. That is good. We love mountains. Yeah. How often were you racing at altitude? Were there lots of destinations that was something that you had to think about, or because I've never run at altitude, so I don't know. Like I look at some of the races out west that I want to do eventually, but I don't know how I would do up high.
So here's everything you need to know about altitude. It's real. And it crushes you. Also, if your heart rate spikes, it tends to come down much slower.
Mm-hmm.
So once you go into the red, you're kind of in deep trouble for a long time.
Yeah.
I dealt with altitude two ways. One is, for most of my career, I actually had an altitude tent. I had it because it just was a natural way to bump up my hemoglobin.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like, I slept at 7,000 feet uncomfortably, like in a plastic, miserable tent.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful. Like, it smells, it's hot. Like, yeah, it was not cool. But it bumped up my hemoglobin from like 40, my hematocrit levels from like 42 to like 46, 47, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
And it meant that I could go to altitude and kind of be okay. The other way to do it, I actually did one of those Spartan races in Tahoe after that. And the way I handled it was, I went at the very last minute. If, unless you're going to go like weeks before and get truly acclimatized, you can kind of sneak up there. And then, like, I would go there at the last possible minute, which was, I think, 5 p.m. The night before the race. And then the race started at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So I got one mediocre night of sleep, but the altitude sickness doesn't really start to hit. So I would do the race the next day and then kind of like retreat back down to sea level before my body got super screwed up.
Yeah.
And that's the easy, cheap way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have heard that if like you're within that 24-hour block for whatever reason, yeah, that definitely is.
Yeah, but if you're up there for what most people do, which is a mistake, is they go for a few days to get to be on the race site and see everything.
Yeah,
hang out, and that's like the worst time to race.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to go there, like, I think it's like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Before, I love just like staying as low as possible and then sneaking up, doing the race, and then. I mean, if you want to hang out after that, I guess it doesn't matter, but you're going to suffer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I always just turned around and like drove. I literally would try to, I think I would sleep there after the race because I was so shelled. But then the next morning, just get up and drive out of town.
Yep, get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
So the altitude tent, how often were you actually, was that just in like big builds some of your key races? Or
24/7.
24/7?
Yeah, for like years. I mean, maybe I take the off season break from it and like, but no, because you just slept in it every night.
Well, this is something that I've thought about. I haven't thought about getting one of those tents, but I've been trying to be more consistent on the sauna and get some of those same benefits, like bump up the blood volume a little bit, and just have it year round. Because if you're doing workouts and training with it year round, you just get longer. You get more workouts with that extra boost. Obviously, so that compounds over the years. But were you doing heat training as well, or really?
Yeah, because I was also racing in hot places, right?
Yes.
So anytime I raced someplace hot, I would do heat training. But interestingly, when I raced someplace cold, I would also do cold training.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, because it's hard psychologically and physiologically going from hot to cold too.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to be prepared for that. Like if the first time you're swimming in 49-degree water is jumping off the ferry in Norway, and you're coming from southern Florida, you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
So you want to avoid that. I definitely would not recommend that. So if you're going to race in cold, you need to, I think, maybe it's physiological, maybe it's psychological, but either way, I think you need to do some stuff in cold, which nobody talks about, but I think that's real. In terms of heat acclimation, absolutely. So the race leading up to Louisville, where I knew it was going to be in the 90s and humid, I would train indoors in the summer, sun coming through the windows and making it hot, wearing multiple layers, and like on my indoor bike, like cranking out hard workouts and just sweating profusely. And I think it works.
Yeah.
I did a lot of that. Or when I would, overdress outside for runs, I was racing Florida and it was fall, up here. So it was like 55, 60, perfect for a run. And I was dressing, so that it felt like it was in the 80s. And that really helped when I went to Florida, where it was still hot. So I think heat acclimation is critical. I mean, there are some other benefits of like saunas and stuff like that. But if you want to perform well, the other thing too is those core monitors, those core temp monitors are amazing. Like people are starting to realize it's not just heart rate that you have to track when you're in the middle of a workout or a race, I should say. It's your core temp.
Yeah.
And if you're racing someplace hot, it's just like your car. You're going to literally look down and see that your core temp's overheating, and you're going to either slow down or break down.
Yeah.
And all those guys now who are racing Kona, you see them all with core temperature monitors, right? It's like a heart rate monitor strap. It's just an add-on.
Okay.
And it gives them their internal thermal reading. And it's probably the single biggest factor in racing, in a race like that. That's why you also saw them like going, taking extreme measures to cool themselves during races.
Yeah.
And you see that too in like Badwater.
Yeah. All ultras now are the cooling is like one of the big things too. Like how do you just they say stay wet. They have all the different things that they're coming out with as far as like the cooling, the white shirts, everything like that.
Yeah, that's all.
Ice.
The guy who won Blumenfeld, he won Kona and he won the Olympics, and he has this very immodest all white kit.
Yeah.
That like he's like, but he wins.
Yeah.
I think he added like a black part in the most important part.
Okay.
To make it a little less, a little more modest. But like, yeah, it's all this cooling stuff is critical, and it's really, triathlon has really embraced micro gains. And you see it like with the cooling stuff. Yeah,
I feel like and we talked about it a little bit. The sports are just changing like so fast. The technology is getting so good. The pros now are so scientific. Like Blumenfeld, I think he's one of the their camp is so, they track everything, right? Oh, what did you think about the 101 VO2 max?
And we'll see how that fares in time. I'm in no position to say yes or no, but I will say the mountain he lives on, I ran up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that mountain is near Granada. And it's right near the camp I put on in Spain.
Awesome.
So we sometimes ride it. We don't live at the top because we're not there long enough to do altitude shading, but it's the longest climb in Southern Europe and the tallest mountain in Iberia. Wow. So we ride it. It's like 32K, 6,000 feet in just that road.
Yeah.
And he lives at the top, right? And he just like swims and runs in circles. He sometimes rides up and down it. I see on his Instagram. But I ran it and it was bonkers. I was crushed for it like blew up half of my year. The recovery I came back from that and I was just shelled so badly. I couldn't get off the couch. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. We had another athlete actually, Jamin. Jamin, shout out to Mountains and Marathons. That's his program. And he ran up it and demolished my time and then was like fine. He then played in snow at the top.
Oh boy.
Yeah. He some people can just do that. He comes from relatively flat places, but he's incredible at altitude stuff. Yeah. He also has the record for Mount Kilimanjaro backwards. He hiked Mount Kilimanjaro backwards with a mirror and set a world record. Which, by the way, there was a number of attempts by other people. His attempt was like not the first or even the second. He shattered the record by
gosh,
by hours and hours and hours. Yeah.
What is the time on that? And what kind of mirror is it?
I think it was like faster than you might think, like 14. No, he had one on his on a headband.
Yeah.
But he does Kilimanjaro like all the time with his squad and his group, and but he ran up the Sierra Nevada like it was nothing, which is a huge climb in cycling. That's often the deciding race, the deciding day in the Tour of Spain. And obviously now it's famous because all these pros live there, right? Like, or go there and do like extended camps. It's just tons of pros up there. Yeah. But yeah, I ran up that and it sucked.
Oh, that is so funny. That is so cool though.
It was fun. It was great at the time.
Yeah. Wow. So what are some of you've already gave us some snippets, but like, what are some like standout moments from your career? It could be like awesome places you've been to or just awesome days, like races. Like, what are some of the biggest moments when you look back?
So I had a swim in California in La Jolla, and there was like a kelp forest That was so cool. Like looking
Wow.
down and seeing a kelp forest. There was also sea lions. I saw before I got in the water, I saw a giant whale's tail like breach the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you swim over and there's like a little beach. Like you swim from these rocks, like you take a staircase down, you jump in. It feels really wild. You're on top of a kelp forest. So you're looking down at a forest from above like a bird. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you hit like a little you just like little feet scuffle. So when you hit the beach, so that you don't accidentally kick a stingray.
Oh my gosh.
And then you turn around and you go back. And that was amazing. That was one of my favorite like training swims. Obviously breaking like that first top 10 in Louisville was like really powerful, where I was like, oh no, I'm a legitimate professional triathlete. Like this was a long time coming and it felt really good.
Yeah. What year was that?
2000 and oh, that's a good question. 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously having the same kind of result in Placid was really, really amazing. I always loved the Lake Placid swim. It's in Mirror Lake, which is gorgeous. Placid is like a sports town. Like the whole town revolves around sports because it's all Olympic training stuff, and they had the Olympics twice there, and and the Ironman obviously is a huge part of that. So being in that lake with the fans are huge. The level of like noise you hear at that race is just amazing. I also got to do the ITU Long Course World Championships as a pro in 2012 and represent America, which was really cool. And also, Europe goes bonkers for endurance sports, like in a way that like you can't appreciate as an American until you go there. So they had a 7.5 kilometer loop through the city in the Basque Country. It was the city's Victoria, and it's a real city. So like it has a good population density, and you're running, and you're running on these like ancient European streets that have these giant, beautiful gold seashells on the ground, which is because it's the Camino del Santiago, like this holy pilgrimage that goes through the city, part of it at least. So you're running on this like pilgrimage site with these ornate, beautiful roads. But the crowds are like 6 deep. And at parts, they've set up grandstands that are full with a jumbotron, like that shows you coming through. And the place was like deafeningly loud, like just amazing. And you're like, this is the coolest experience. Like, I mean, I ended up not having a great race, but it didn't matter. I had such a great experience. It was, definitely. That was one of those highlights. I was just running. Also, I had a bad bike. I think I got a flat. So I ended up having relatively good legs. And those runs where you just feel like you're like not even touching the ground. Like there's a half an inch between and you're just floating along. It was one of those magical runs. And their long course was a 30K. So it was like long enough that you like, it felt long, but not so long that you kind of bonk and hit that that kind of wall. So I just felt great the whole time. And just absorbing that atmosphere was fantastic. And actually there was a race, Ironman Canada, back when it was in a city called Penticton, that had a climb that was like in the race, and that race was so popular and such a big race, and it had been going on for so many years when the year I did it, that that people would drive out there and line the streets like 2 or 3 deep, and you were riding through like literally a motorcycle with space as they're just screaming at you like Tour de France style. Wow. And and it was really cool, like having the crowds just like screaming at you as you're climbing up this hill. It was absolutely, I love that. That was really fun.
That is
really
awesome.
Satisfying. So those are some great memories. God, I had such a long career. I wish I'd prepared that question a little bit, but those are the ones that at least
it's a big question.
But those definitely pop out as some of my favorite experiences.
Oh, that's very cool. I think some of the ultra runners right now cannot relate to that. Usually 0 crowds, middle of the woods. But no, that's super cool. Were you in front of crowds like that a lot? Like how were the turnout for some, like what was the turnout back in the day?
I will say for Ironman, they were every Ironman. But like if I'm doing 1 or 2 Ironmans a year, I'm doing I'm also doing 20 small races where nobody's there.
Yeah.
You know, where you finish and like, you know, you're hanging out waiting for like the next couple of people to finish. So you have someone to talk to. You know, there's nobody at like a lot of these races, and that's fun.
Yeah.
You know, I love all those races. I love those small races. I will say I did, and Tough Mudder also had an ultra distance, and I did that race, and they start at midnight and you run for 8 hours, and it's as many of the 5-mile loops as you can do.
Okay.
And I remember being in the middle of nowhere running through a field, and the moon was setting, and it was enormous. It was just like the biggest moonset I've ever seen. And I was just running through this field, having been running at that point for like 5 or 6 hours, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was I think of that to this day all the time. In fact, now I do night workouts just to have that experience again.
Yeah.
Like last night I did a nighttime cross country ski just because like just being outside, and like ultra runners, you know, they get to do some amazing things. I actually paced one of my athletes at Grindstone.
Oh, nice.
I did the like overnight.
Nice.
And it was amazing, right? Like running through the Shenandoah Valley at night in October. Oh, I mean, it's completely magical. It's a completely different experience than daytime running.
Yeah. No, it is awesome. I love. Sometimes you get out in the mountains on a trail, even daytime, nighttime, whatever. It just, you're like, wow, this is incredible. That's super cool. Let's talk about the Snow Devil. We got the Snow Devil mask.
By the way, for those of you who are still watching and we haven't actually gotten to the fact that we have a devil mask here. It was the closest thing I could come up with to Snow Devil. It's actually Krampus.
Okay, Krampus.
So for those of you who don't know, Krampus is the Austrian. He was like probably a pagan god that then kind of got rebranded during Christianity. And turned into kind of like the Christmas demon.
Yeah.
So Krampus goes out the night before St. Nicholas Day. And just like St. Nicholas gives toys to all the good kids, Krampus goes, finds up all the bad kids, binds them in chains, hits them with sticks, and then I believe kidnaps them.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
And so Krampus is enjoying a revival at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like called Krampus runs where like in Austria and other places now, you know, people dress up as Krampus and like run through the streets and have little parades.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's kind of fun to celebrate being naughty.
I think there's one in Vermont, right? A Krampus.
Probably.
Yeah, there's some sort of race that I know.
So Krampus is having a moment. And and the race was called Snow Devil. So I brought the Krampus mask.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. And wore it around for the before and after the race.
Yeah.
Not during.
Not during.
It would have been way too hard.
Yeah. Okay, so the Snow Devil, Pittsfield, Vermont? Pittsfield, Vermont.
Which is the home of Spartan.
Okay.
So this race, I did not know this when I signed up, or I knew it as I was signing up. The story of Spartan comes through Vermont. And at this farm in Pittsfield is where they created the Death Race,
yes, the
Snow Devil, and a few other of these early races that they now refer to as the Founders Races.
Yep.
From that, Spartan launched and became whatever Spartan is. So the founders are these like, you know, the OGs of this still keep like some of their like original races. So they still have the Death Race, which was going on simultaneously.
I did see that.
Which is bonkers if anybody wants to just pure masochism.
Yeah.
I saw that, I would cross paths with them both before and during the race, and seeing them out there they'd been out there for days. Like our race started Saturday morning. Their race started Thursday.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Well, isn't like the waiver, like if I die. They post something like that on their Instagram or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they start by jumping into a frozen river to retrieve their bibs, which are frozen in ice. Like it's that kind of thing. And then anyways, and they also had a 100-miler and a 100K that started Friday.
Yep.
By the time my race started, everybody from the 100-miler had dropped out, and everybody but one person from the 100K had dropped out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was cold. It was like this kind of cold.
Yeah.
By the way, I think it was -5 when you rolled into my -5 Fahrenheit when you showed up here.
Yeah.
So it was like that kind of weather the night before.
Yeah.
So they had been like, it would have been zeros, you know, overnight. So those dudes were out there running, you know, those poor souls were out there running through the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why they had a high DNF rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No.
Anyway,
definitely.
so our race started at a very leisurely hour of, I think, 8 a.m.
8.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's in Pittsfield. It goes up and down a 1,700 foot course that incorporates their like local mountain.
Yep.
I don't know what the name of the mountain is, but it's,
Yep. And you did the marathon, right?
I did.
Was it loops or was it?
So it's 4 loops. 4
loops.
And the trail was pretty nicely. It's a snowshoe race. You have to wear snowshoes. They have criteria of what that entails.
Yep.
And then you have to go up. Yeah. And then it's 4 times. You summit the mountain 4 times, essentially. You take a windy course up and then a windy course down. And it's a 6.5 mile loop, which according to my watch, was way long, but whatever.
Is what it is.
It's the same for everybody.
Yeah. I should have said you came in second.
I did.
So I had a good run there.
Not bad.
What was the turnout? How many people were in that race? Do you know?
No idea.
No idea. There was a crowd when you started.
There was a crowd
and then you
when
left
we started, and there was a lot less people when we finished.
Yeah.
So the race has an insane cutoff.
Yeah, you had mentioned that in your write-up. Yeah, it had a really strict cutoff.
Right. So don't do that race if you want to finish all of it. Unless you can go pretty fast.
Yeah.
You will not make the 4th lap cutoff unless you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I made it sprinting. And this was originally going to be a zone 2 workout for me, to get ready for my Spain camp which starts at the end of February.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, perfect. I'll do this as like a zone 2 workout. And then I got kind of competitive. I got into the moment and I was holding what was like, solid zone 3 for me, and pretty solid zone 3. And I took the first 2 laps that way and then realized that somebody that I was in my head racing was actually doing the half and they were finished. So as I started the 3rd lap,
psych. Yeah, I'm not going back out.
As I started the 3rd lap, I realized I was like, oh, I've been kind of cooking. I should back off. But then I did the math and I was like, I'm not going to make the cutoff. And then I went back and I remembered the results I'd seen and I couldn't understand why only like one person would finish.
Yeah.
Like if you look in like the year before 2020, I guess it'd be 2025, one person finished.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why. I was like, wow, it must be this race is so hard or locals sign up who don't know what they're getting in for. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now I realize, oh, it's the cutoff. So I go back up to like zone 3, and now I'm like 3.5 hours into running at what for me was 160 beats per minute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then as I get close, I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I literally was in a all-out lactate threshold sprint for the last 10 minutes to get to the finish line. I make the cutoff exactly with 30 seconds. Like, if they had been strict about it, it was exactly at 1:00.
Yeah.
Now they had started 5 minutes late. Mm-hmm. So but they said 1:00. So at 1:00, between 1:00 and 1:01, I crossed the timing mat.
Oh my gosh.
If they had been I was worried they were going to pull me for not making it between 12:59 and 1:00.
Yeah.
But they gave me that minute grace. Then the 3rd place guy gets in and thankfully talks his way into a 4th lap. He's like, you guys started 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
I made I've been on pace to make it by 1 had you started on time.
Yeah.
I think he got in around 1:04.
Okay.
So yeah. So I only know this because we chatted afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I went out and I was definitely cooked for that last lap. That last lap was, and I didn't think anybody was behind me because I'm like, oh, I'm the last guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to go as slow as I want.
I just got to get to the end.
I just got to get to the end. There's nobody behind me. Luckily, the other guy did the same thing and also was completely cooked and didn't come closer to me.
Yeah.
So we ended up, had we known that, we could have who knows what would have happened. Had he known how demolished I was, he could have put in a little bit of effort and then we both would have been really, really miserable.
Yeah. Just a tiny bit faster and you could have broke me. What was your ending time for that?
Over 7 hours.
7 hours, for the marathon.
I averaged 140 per lap for the first 3. So that's 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at 3 hours. No.
3.5.
Yeah, 3. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing the math so poorly. No, 340.
340.
No, that would have been 320. So 420. I was at 420.
Boom, you heard it here.
I have no idea. Anyways, I'm not doing I need a calculator to do this because it's not working in my head.
It was cold out there.
It was cold. So anyways, I went much slower. I think the last lap was 40 minutes slower.
Yeah.
But again, I was like moseying, taking it all in, and it was gorgeous. So like, I'm like on this beautiful course. Now at this point, all of the 10K people are gone, the half marathon people are gone, and the marathon people are basically gone. There's one guy ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it, but one guy behind me. So I'm just like enjoying this like nice stroll up and down this mountain.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that explains the event, because when I was looking into it, I like there were a couple years that, or maybe there was only 1 year with results on Ultra Running Mat or something. I'm like, what is this? I don't know anything about it, but it's a founders race. What's going on? So it's cool to hear some of that. And obviously, I was like, it must be you have to wear snowshoes. It's like because they call it a snowshoe race, even if it's packed down. What were you wearing for snowshoes?
That's a great question. I have fancy snowshoes. There's 2 brands, and I can't remember which one I ended up that are like the fancy snowshoes.
I have a pair of Dion's.
Yeah, so Dion's is one of the fancy brands, and they're fantastic.
Yeah,
I think I have the other one just because they were on sale.
Okay, there you go.
But by the way, if Dion wants to hook me up, I will 100% wear Dion's because they're from Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont, awesome.
I know, so I want to support Dion's. I just unfortunately. They weren't running the sale at the same time that the other brand was.
Hey, yeah. You got a business decision. You have to make it. No, that's cool. Yeah, no, I love the Dion's. They're like a local company. I think when I first got one, or I don't know if I had a problem or something, but I emailed them and they responded right away. So
no, everybody says everyone says they're great.
Yeah,
so.
That's what a lot in the 4,000 footers. A lot of people will be wearing those.
That makes sense.
Run around on the trails, which I think today are we gonna have to?
So it was actually we're gonna run Haystack, the back side, not the ski side.
Yep.
Which actually goes to the true top. The ski resort doesn't go to the true top.
Okay.
So we're gonna look down off it. It'll be really great. But the trail is up the backside, and it's pretty padded down because it gets a lot of attention. My guess is we could wear micro spikes.
Yeah.
Or we could bring snowshoes. I would definitely say we bring both.
Yeah.
And see when we get there. They got a little bit of snow recently, but it's been a while since good snow's fallen here. So
okay. Did you guys get snow yesterday?
Like a
dusting.
Amount.
Yeah, we got like Southern New Hampshire got like 6 inches plus there yesterday.
Yeah,
actually, it just kept snowing.
Yeah, so did Rhode Island and Southern New England. But no, we didn't get that up here.
Oh,
so
okay.
My guess is that the trail's in probably pretty good shape, and crampons will be. Micro spikes will be fun.
Love to hear it. That's always the dilemma. I bring them both, and I hope for just spikes.
Yeah.
Do you do any peak bagging? Do you get out on any of the mountains? No,
I don't. No. It's a cool thing. I had a daughter recently, and I was racing professionally, so I couldn't do a lot of the bucket list stuff I wanted to do because I had to kind of do the races that made sense as a pro. And then now that I'm like retired, I'm like, I get like one a year.
Hey, there you go.
Like I get one cool thing a year, and this year it was Snow Devil.
Nice.
Oh, and I'm going to give a shout out. I also do the triathlon in Mahopac, New York. Named after a kid named Ty who died of cancer, and I love the race. It's the best small community race you'll ever do.
Awesome.
Like the town all knew the kids, so like the fire department comes out and helps, the police come out and help, the cheerleaders from the local high school. The whole thing's a fundraiser for the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation, which is a nonprofit in his name to help fight childhood cancer. It's an awesome race. So I get to do that race, and it seems like one other event of my choosing. So I get to do one bonus, and this bonus was the Snow Devil.
Sweet.
Yeah.
When is that race?
Usually like mid-September.
Mid-September. Very nice. Very nice.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to ask you, I got a list here. I was like, I think I know most of this stuff, but I want to make sure I don't have some things that we missed. One thing that I saw in one of your posts, you said in your 20s you did a bunch of different sports, kind of trying stuff out, found triathlon. Your 30s you tried to reach your athletic potential, maybe chasing Kona was in there too, and then your 40s was kind of like you were still pro racing. And this whole journey, all these stories, like looking back, what would you tell yourself, 28-year-old self, about to embark on, like, because I feel like I'm in a similar boat, like I really want to try to see what my athletic potential is. Mm-hmm. What would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now? Is the journey the destination? What do you think?
Well, that is, I would say yes, but also keep it like there are real consequences to pro racing. And I don't want to underscore the fact that I think about that when I took 10th at Louisville, there was a guy there who was kind of also like an up and coming pro, and he had just had a kid, and I remember his partner and kid were there, and we were chatting before the race, and I passed him to take the 10th spot, and that was at the time the last paid spot.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw him again. Like, that result was the difference of me going on to continue racing and having this, living the dream. And that dude, like, I don't know where he went, but like, his dream was over. And like that's real. Like, I don't want to say that it's all about the journey, because race results matter, sponsors care, race results put you in a place to run a coaching business, or how much you might charge. And that's like food in your kid's mouth. That's gas in your car. I don't want to be flippant and just say that, but on the other hand, I did the Block Island Triathlon almost every year because my family lives on Block Island. My coach, shout out again to Jim Ortell at the Block Island Sports Shop, he's out there. So I would go and do that race almost every year. One time, 6 days after Ironman Lake Placid. And, I cannot tell you the years I won and didn't win.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter. I can tell you the joke I made to Jim during the race when I caught his wave and swam under him and waved. And that's the memory. Like, I don't know, did I win that year? I have no idea. So the winning and the losing didn't matter. On either. So enjoy the journey. The journey's fantastic and have a blast, but and soak it in, but also be mindful that it is like, the results matter.
Yeah.
I'm sure winning that race was good for me. Like, I had local sponsors, I had local support. I'm sure, whenever you try to like sell yourself coaching, a great way to do it is be the person who won the race and then tell people you have a coaching business.
Yeah.
I'm sure I got athletes by winning the race and then hanging out after the race and talking to people.
Yeah.
And that's not, people are impressed by the person who's first or second or third or has the good results.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that the destination doesn't matter, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't,
another thing too that you had mentioned, like with that guy who came in 11th versus 10th, like how that could change whatever. I think something that I am like realizing is people in this field and like at this level, they're giving it everything. Like it takes everything. Like, think of all the training that you had to get that one spot over him, like all the commitments, and he probably made almost as much, sacrifice, and then gets, and so that's real. And so, you got to work hard.
Could have been an execution thing. If he had biked 3 watts less, he wouldn't have blown up in the last literally half mile of the race.
Yeah. And
would have finished strong. If he had taken 3 more cups of water at the right time, maybe he would have kept his core temperature down. I mean, some of those margins are razor thin. Yeah. It's hard. But I would, if people want some like real like reflection insight, we'll say the following things I did right and wrong. One thing that I did right was, I never changed my coach. I had the same coach from start to end, and that was really helpful. Yeah. I think people are constantly, you shouldn't stay with a bad coach. You shouldn't stay with somebody who's not responsive. You shouldn't stay with somebody that's not helping. But on the other hand, like jumping coaches constantly is, I think, like a problem, because sometimes you don't see the results until you've spent some time use it inside of a particular matrix. The second thing is that my coach was also one of my best friends.
Okay.
And I do not in any way regret that. I think a lot of people want the fancy coach with the fancy name. I had so much more fun and so much more joy and emotional support and such a better life.
Yeah.
I was going to say life experience. No, just life, because I did this with somebody that I shared the journey with and who I genuinely enjoyed doing that with. Same with training partners. I picked training partners that were fun, not that were fast. I picked training partners that made the experience, the journey better.
Yeah.
And that was really critical, and I really loved that. Things I did wrong, I did not invest in myself in terms of money and support. Like I didn't get myself the fancy wheels because I didn't get a sponsor that gave me fancy wheels. So I was like, I'll make do with, low quality stuff. I didn't do, I should have brought in some more testing and stuff like that. And I didn't, I didn't do that soon enough. I didn't get, I brought in Ben Kessel to do the strength training stuff for me, and I should have done that a decade sooner than I did.
Yeah.
I just didn't invest in myself, and that can be a big mistake. Yeah, I think those things. Also, I didn't pick the bucket races soon enough. Like, I wish I'd done, maybe one or two less name brand Ironmans, and done Norseman when I was still closer to my peak. I think that would have been really cool. I never did Roth because there's a famous triathlon challenge, Roth. It's used to be an Ironman, then they became their own race, but it's an Ironman distance. And I never did that race because I didn't think I'd have a good result. I didn't need as many good results. I needed the experience. And that race, everyone tells me, is the best fan. Literally 100,000 spectators on course.
Wow.
I know, right? Or sometimes 200. And I never did that race. Why? That was so silly of me. I was like, well, it's too competitive. My result would have been lost in the sauce, and I would have, nobody would have seen it. Should have had that race. Also, there's a famous duathlon called Zofingen in Switzerland, and the run is a trail run, actually. It's a cycle. It's a 5-mile trail run and then a 20-mile trail run with a 86-mile bike in between.
Wow.
Yeah. The bike is on road, but it's up and down mountain passes. It's psycho hard. And the trail run is also like brutal. Lots of vertical. You're in Switzerland. It's gorgeous. Never did it. I was like, well, I'm a good swimmer. It doesn't really play to my strengths. Who cares? I should have done that race.
Yeah.
So do your bucket races sooner rather than later. You won't have as much time when you're as good as you are that you think you will have.
Yeah.
And I had a long career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were, Sea to Summit. Do you know that race in New Hampshire?
Yes. Heard of it. Yep.
Never did it. What? That race is awesome.
Yep.
I would have loved to have done that race in my prime.
Yep.
So yeah, do some of those bucket list races sooner rather than later is my advice to anybody out there.
Yep. No, that's cool. Did you ever have any big setbacks, big injuries in your long career? Pretty smooth?
I'm really lucky.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah. Really, really. Oh, sorry. I just made my dog bark. Yeah, knock on wood, I really had very little. When I was racing road cycling, I crashed, broke my wrist. I was out really like 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, I had to ride indoors.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a cast. And then, so I don't think I raced for 6 weeks, but I was back to training within 3 days. I had plantar fasciitis a few times. I have a little bit of a weird, I broke my ankle doing OCR at one point, but it healed really fast. Yeah, I've just been really, really lucky with that stuff. I'm really durable.
Yeah.
There's one of the things that I've heard is the way you find out who's an ultra endurance champion is you take 12 eggs, throw them at the wall, and the one that doesn't break is the champ. Like, durability is really important.
Yeah. Right?
Like, people, you asked me about a VO2 max. I don't think that's as important for endurance sports as for durability.
Yeah.
I'm actually currently the third best athlete in my family, maybe fourth.
Wow.
Yeah, and my sister is far a better athlete than me, but she was constantly injured, and that was always this really difficult thing. And it's just a real problem. So it's hard to test durability. You don't know until you know.
Yeah.
And with endurance sports, it's such about more is often more. So if you can do more miles, if you can do more intensity, if you can do more training, handle more training load without getting hurt or sick, right? That's a big one. That's critical. I did have some big bouts of burnout during my career, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my big setbacks is a couple of times I was just like, oh, I have to take 2 months off. Yeah. I have to shut this down. Yeah. Start over. I am cooked. Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of ultra runners flirt on the edge of that. And some, I've seen definitely some people kind of hit that where they really need to take that time off. But it's always a fine line because I think if you can do more volume and you can absorb it, recover from it, you're just going to be, if you're a little bit faster, you've done a little bit more. And you're in the same, I think it's just better for you.
Yeah.
But you don't want to tell people that a lot of the time because they'll just go kill themselves. And it's, it's a fine
or they
line.
just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, not everybody's going to dedicate themselves to to a 100-mile week.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. Yeah. Durability, is that something that obviously it seems like you've kind of just had that throughout, but I think, endurance sports and running in particular, it takes a while to build up that durability, just the pounding. Obviously, bike and swim is a little bit less. But did you find, and I think that's why athletes can have, long distance endurance events. You see a lot of older athletes, and did you find that your prime was a lot later than you thought it would have been or could have been, or like where did you? Because you raced into your 40s.
Yeah,
Deep into your 40s.
Yeah, I mean, at 49, I raced Canada Man as they have a half distance, and they have their own half world championships. And it's called the solo because you have to do it solo, obviously, like no support. And I was leading the race for quite some time and ended up 5th overall and qualified for the world championships for the Extreme Tri half world championships as like a open, they don't really call it elite, but it's like, a qualified spot as a, in their open division.
Yeah.
Which is pretty badass at 49.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I would have done it at 50, but my daughter was born right before the race.
Yeah.
I know. So I'm very happy. I have no regrets. I'm very happy to be a dad, but there was no way I was going to make that race in Scotland. Oh, it's so good too. It's like, I'm like, it is sad that I couldn't do that race, but because it looks like it's called Keltman, and it just looks amazing. Yeah. Someday I will get back to Keltman. But anyway, so at 49, I was still at the pointy end of a pretty hard race, and but yeah, every single person who passed me, I could have fathered. They were all young enough to have been my kid. By a lot. So that was weird. No, so it's actually kind of weird, but the conventional wisdom when I was coming up was that you would peak late, that like your mid 30s would be your best years, like 35 to 38 would be your best years. And a lot of the guys that were winning Kona at that time were kind of around that age. It was believed wrongly that you couldn't go that long and early in your career. So it was like they didn't expect you'd see anybody who's in their 20s winning Kona or any of the races like that because they hadn't, quote unquote, paid their dues.
Yeah.
But that has been turned on its head. Now you see some of these guys just smashing Ironman distance races in their 20s.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised that I had good years between 35 and 38 because back then that was meant to be the good years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Ultra running, same thing. Like, there are some young kids going out there and just like crushing these wicked long races, and I think people are like, "Oh shit, this guy! Oh my, you gotta watch out."
Yeah, I think the idea that you only get faster as you get old, I don't think that a lifetime of endurance sports will guarantee you a win against some of these people who are coming up with fearlessness and new training ideas and new science and are just, I mean, they're really doing great.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too with these long distance events is they're getting so competitive. You got to go for it. You just have to, and a lot of people will DNF races because they just went out so hard. Like you can't be conservative at these races, even though they're long distance, because everyone is swinging really hard.
Yeah. And that's as these sports got bigger, that's what happened. You saw that, we saw that in Ironman too, when, when it used to be that a race had 20 pros, you could kind of pace yourself, be conservative and race your own race. When you have 40 or 50 or, at Kona now, I think there's 50 strong guys. You got to go hard, and you see big names blow up because they had to take those risks.
Yeah.
They can't start letting the race get away from them because it won't come back anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, when there were in the 80s, when there were 3 guys, you could maybe roll that dice. But now when there's 30 guys going that fast, the train's leaving and you better get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are seeing that in ultra running too. Yeah. You're seeing these, and it pushes everybody.
Yeah.
And you see more failures, but you also see people doing things that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do in terms of times if they didn't take some big risks.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of records that thought were, untouchable that are just going down pretty, by a large margin. I think in the last Western states, Kilian Jornet, who I'm sure that you know, he just said something like to the young guys who were going out fast. He's like, guys, we don't have to run this fast. What are you doing? And he's obviously been around for a while. So
I mean, the irony is he was that young guy.
Yeah.
When he came up, everybody's like, who is this young kid, with the all white from Europe?
Yeah.
And, taking all these crazy risks early on. But now, now he's the one being like, whoa. Yeah. It's funny, but
no, it's cool. But yeah, you can never count the older folks out though. Cause I say sometimes you show up to a race and some guy with a 20-year-old pack, who's just eating like a Snickers bar, he's going to kick your ass.
There are those like anomalies. I remember, twice this happened to me. I showed up at a local race in Cape Cod and there was like several pros there, just like by happenstance. It wasn't a pro race, but me and two of my friends who were also pro just happened to end up at this local race. And we all lost to a guy in like rec specs and like on like a bike that was like 15 years older than ours. And he just crushed us.
Yeah.
And we were all, and apparently he was older, but he was like some local legend who like loves that race and is a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens.
Yeah.
I love that. Actually now I'm 50. Sometimes I am that guy.
Yeah. It sounds like, you were at least at the Snow Devil.
Well, then I took second, but I won a triathlon this year, and I was the guy with the gray hair who probably got looked over, and the race.
And no shaming here, no shame. I look up. I mean, utmost respect. I want to be there one day.
It was, but like it just so happened that race really suited me because it had a very long swim proportionally, and I'm a pretty good swimmer, so I came out of the water with like enough of a lead that nobody caught me, even though I was probably 20 years older than the rest of the podium.
Yeah. That is so funny. Oh, that's awesome. I had just a couple questions on coaching.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have a quote. This is probably like 10 years. I don't even know if I should say this.
Where did you find this?
I was listening to some old John Hirsch stuff.
Whoa.
The Zen Tribe podcast.
Oh, shout out to Brett.
Yeah, Zen Tribe.
By the way, who's back? The Zen Tribe. Zen and the Art of Triathlon is back for all of you who are looking for a podcast. Great podcast. I love Brett. We're like tight now. We became friends, and I would stay with him in Texas when I was at the height of my pro days because it was warm down there. So I do my January camp. Mm-hmm.
Then
he came to my Spain camp in February once. Yeah, love that guy. Anyways.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I was listening to that and it was good. And I noticed that they had a few this year.
Yes.
So he's been doing it for a long time.
He did one with me with Norseman, by the way. For those of you who want to deep dive into Norseman.
Yes.
He interviewed me right after that.
Yep. No, so yeah.
Okay. So hit me with some terrible quote.
No, this is funny too because those podcasts were hilarious. I was like, this guy is hilarious, extremely funny. So I was like, and he's gonna be he's a person to interview. But you said most people can make training plans themselves with a couple books and an internet connection. So this was a quote this is 12 years ago. So I think it's obviously you're half joking, but I think there is some truth to it in that like. If you just go on like the AI stuff, Google a good training plan for a race and you're going to get like what you need generally. But what do you think is most important that a coach does? Because there's all these factors outside of just a training plan and a workout that make coaches get the best out of their athletes. How do you do that in your coaching? And I guess how has your coach done that for you, do you think?
Okay, so let me give you the three things that I think are my three responses, and they're all individual points, but they're all helpful. The first thing is, I actually stand by that quote.
Yeah.
I think you will get 70% of the way there.
Yeah.
On your own. Here's where coaches are critical. One, you will inherently train the things you like most that you are best at, where you will see the least amount of gains. So if you're a super strong cyclist, you will go out and do a lot of bike training and you will make very small amounts of progress for a triathlon. Whereas you really need somebody to tell you, no, you need to swim more, you need to run more, whatever.
Yep.
So that's the first thing, is that you need some sort of like, you need that part of it. The second part of it, maybe there's more parts of it, but the second part of that, which is actually part and parcel of what I was saying, was really just, you need an objective voice. We joked about this earlier, but like a lot of times athletes will like, who'll be like, oh, this isn't working, I should double my efforts. Yeah. And really like they're not recovering enough. So they're just making the problem twice as bad. Yeah. Because athletes are emotional. They're very subjective about their own training and racing. They don't have that objectiveness that a coach provides. It's really good even if you know more than your coach, to just have an objective person say to you, this is what you're doing right and this is what you're doing wrong, who's detached from you and isn't in the exhaustion and the fog of all the emotions that being an athlete is.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are really important. Athletes are just simply too emotional to be objectively good at as their own coaches for the most part.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing is that a one size fits nobody training plan will not be tailored to what you need.
Yeah.
So if you go, a standard triathlon program might have 3 bikes, 3 runs, and 3 swims per week. If you're a collegiate swimmer, you don't need 3 swims. You need 2, maybe 1, and a strength training program. And you should be skewing the pie chart of your training to something totally unrelated. And you won't know that. And that won't, these one size fits all programs won't work. In running, for example, right? If you do a one size fits all program, it may be, it may not take into account the fact that you're very durable and you could do a lot more volume. It may not take into account that you're not durable and you should be doing a lot more cross training. It may or may not have the appropriate amount of training. You might have enough time to add strength training. You might not have time for strength training, and subsequently you have to come up with creative ways to build it into the workouts. None of that's going to be in a one size fits all training plan. And so the customization is really key. Yep. And then the third thing, this is where I get a lot of my business from, is that they don't have the time to read some books on training and to use their internet to research all this stuff.
Yeah.
They want somebody who just knows this.
Yep.
Like I could probably figure out how to do my own oil change. Like I could probably find some YouTube videos, go to the shop, figure all the parts I need, learn how to do it, make a few mistakes. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like, I pull into Jiffy Lube, they change my oil. Cause I just have a busy life.
Yeah.
A lot of my athletes are highly driven people who just, they don't want to be spending all their time researching and creating training plans for themselves. They want to wake up and do the training plan that somebody else who is more knowledgeable, who's done the work to not just to know how to do this and how to make these training plans. They want that. They just want somebody to do for them what they don't have the time to do them for themselves.
Yep.
Which is to, be really well educated on all this stuff, on all the sports science, the nutrition. They just want to have a resource they can just go to. Yep. And that's worth paying for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't do my own dentistry.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I could probably go to dentist school and become a dentist. I don't have time for that. So I go to a dentist.
Yep.
Shout out to my dentist at Gallery 57, who's 70 years old and about to do the Ironman.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. By the way. Yeah. Gallery
awesome.
57 in New York. Yeah. Shout out to Andy for the, at 70 years old, he's done the Ironman before.
Okay.
He's coming out of not quite retirement, but coming back at 70 to take another crack at the Ironman.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's coming to my Spain camp too. I cannot wait to
Sweet.
But anyways,
let's go in.
He's also, by the way, a badass dentist. He doesn't have the time to become a triathlon coach. I don't have the time to become a dentist.
It works out perfect.
And right, so he does dental work, I do coaching.
Nice.
And it just saves everybody a lot of hassle. And then the last part is, and I think this is really critical, is I love coaching. I love hanging out with my athletes. I love talking to them. I love hearing about their results. A lot of times you just want somebody on the journey with you.
Yeah.
And that's real. Like you want that somebody, one is like for something like an ultra, right? Which is overwhelming. You want the confidence of somebody who's been there and done that and saying, no, these are the milestones you have to hit to be on the right pace and to have confidence. Like I had a 99% finish rate at Ironman because I was so confident in my athletes. My training plans are very hard. So if an athlete finishes them, they have an incredibly high confidence rate that they are going to finish the Ironman. It literally, barring a few really unfortunate mishaps, all my athletes finish their Ironmans, whether it's their first or second or fifth, because my training plans are hard but they don't have that confidence because they've never necessarily done an Ironman, let's say.
Yep.
So having that confidence, having that ability to to having that like kind of person with you to say, no, you're on the right path is for something that's really daunting, like a marathon, like, you know, that's really valuable. I think that's really important. And you don't get that from an internet connection and a book.
Yeah.
You know, you only get that from somebody who's willing to do some emotional work, emotional labor, which is totally appropriate as a coach. You should be expecting to do emotional labor as a coach.
Yeah.
So, you know, to say, no, you're doing great. We got this. This is the workout you needed to do. You crushed it. This workout went bad, but don't worry, you know. Or like, oh, by the way, you are worry.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. You should. Yeah.
You're not training enough. Like you're totally, you know, you committed to this big thing and you're not getting it done. Like worry.
Yeah.
This is the time to worry.
Yeah.
You know, that too, right? That's also important as a coach. But no, I think that's what coaches bring to the beyond the nuts and bolts of a, you know, one size fits all or one size fits nobody training plan that you can download off of, you know, your website.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's great insight. All right. We'll end it on some of the nuts and bolts of coaching. Give us one of your favorite running workouts. It could be on a hill, but it could be flat. Give us, because you had another thing that you said you really like making workouts. So leave us with a really good running workout. One of your favorites.
16 times 200 at threshold recovery on the downhill. 10-minute warm up, 5 minutes of drill, 30 seconds drill, 30 seconds running, thinking about the drill. Because I like to incorporate the drill movement into actual running, but while being really mindful of it. So you do the drill for 30 seconds, let's say skipping or bounding or high knees or whatever the drill is that you pick, right? Kickbacks, aka butt kicks, you know, lateral crossover, whatever drill you want. 30 seconds of the drill, then 30 seconds of running. So that's a 10-minute warm up, 5 minutes of drills, maybe a couple of minutes of light recovery to let your heart rate come down, and then 16 times 200 on a steep climb to getting that. You won't hit it the first couple of times, but you want to aim for lactate threshold, and then and then recovery on the downhill, and then 5-10 minutes cool down.
Sweet.
From zone 2 down to zone 1.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my and I'm just gonna tell you why I love that workout.
Yeah,
speed work is important, but doing it on a hill cuts down on so much of the pounding that it's a great way to do. Everyone can do this workout without necessarily having to worry about getting hurt.
Yeah,
the same way you might have trouble if you were doing it on the road or a track.
Yeah, I love uphill workouts. I think lower impact if you're a little bit.
And build up to the 16. By the way, you can start with like as low as 5.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome. Well, I guess, is there anything else? Anything big things that I missed?
I don't know, man. I feel like we covered all of it. I mean, this is my life story. I appreciate you giving me the chance to tell it.
Yeah, no, this was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm excited for the run. Where can people find the coaching? Maybe a little, I know you talked about the Strong Like Bull Spain camp. Anything you got to shout out?
Yeah, so let me, my Instagram is @thedeerrunner. And the brand new URL for my coaching is stronglikebulltraining.com. And then just click the /coaching. So that will, that has all of the coaching information you need. There is actually a new Strong Like Bull training website that's coming live, but you'll find your way there. Okay. And you'll definitely find me there, either on the gram, as the kids say, or at that website, stronglikebulltraining.com /coaching. Also, you can find me, Strong Like Bull has a Facebook page, and I'm also on Facebook.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool.
Cool.
Really appreciate it, John.
Haystack?
Yeah, let's do it.
It feels really warm in here. Yeah. And it looks it looks so sunny right out there, and it's not.
It's not. Yeah. No, it should be fun.
All right, let's get to it.
Let's do it. Thanks, guys. Okay, and wrapping this up, we're going through the TARCtic frozen Yeti results. So we're going to go through this. It was a cold day. It was the same weekend as last gear standing. Super cold. And so for the 30-hour, no one hit 100 miles, so no one got a buckle this year, which I think just you got to attribute it to the cold. There was a picture of Chris Manwaring with literally ice on his head and his face. It was epic. But okay, the 30-hour results. The men's top 3: Jeffrey Howe, 75 miles. Jason Kaplan, 75 miles. They both went 75 miles, but I think Jeffrey finished that lap first. So he came in first, Jason in second, and then Chris Manwaring in third, 65 miles. That was the podium. The 30-hour results for the woman, Denise Klatt, 70 miles. She came in first, so she was third overall. Came in first for the woman. Gummy, oh gosh, Gummy Mabvata, 50 miles. She came in second. And then Chloe Jordan, 40 miles. She came in third. The 15-mile results for the men's. Chris Oriole, 3 hours and 12 minutes. He came in first. Ryan Mansell, 3 hours and 20 minutes. Thomas Solomon, 3 hours and 31 minutes. There's a podium there. And then the 50 miles women, Jillian Rocco, 4 hours, 10 minutes. I ran into her on Tecumseh. Shout out. What's up? Nice job. First place. Second, Andrea Meza Phelps, 4:43. And then Maura Gray, third place, 5 hours, 58 minutes for the 50-mile. Boom. There you have it. Those are the results. Like I said, it was super cold. But they were out there and they kept going. And then finally, the BURCS Frozen Folly results. So I mentioned this in a previous podcast. It was a month-long virtual sign-up race that you could sign up for. So you just had to run this in January, and there were 4 different races. There was the marathon, who the winner ended up being John Milburn, 64 years old, shout out, crushing it, 4 hours. And then the female marathon winner, Lydia Meyer Turkson, 59 years old, 4 hours and 53 minutes. So they won for the marathon. And I'll just go. The 50K results, men winner, John Milburn, 64 years old, again, same guy, 4 hours and 31 minutes. So this race, you can run all the different distances. I think these are different runs that he went on, because John Milburn sweeps the marathon 50K and the 2x50K all on a treadmill. He gets 3 first place finishes. So I look on Ultra Sign Up, and he gets 3 100% rank first place finishes on Ultra Sign Up. So this race is like kind of an Ultra Sign Up hack. If you can go there and sweep on 3 or 4 of these races, you're just going to boost your Ultra Sign Up numbers. And I don't know if I mentioned it, the marathon, the 50K, and then the 2x50K is all on a treadmill, and then they have an outdoor 50K. So the 50K, like I said, John Milburn for hey, I gotta call you back in a second. What's wrong? Where are you? Oh, all right. No. I can come. I'm gonna be there in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah. I'll be there. I'll be there, but I'm outside. I'll call you in a few minutes. You don't have to walk. Go into work, and I'll be there in 20 minutes. Okay. Okay. Love you. Love you. Bye. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, the 50K, John Milburn, 64 years old, 4 hours, 31 minutes. He wins again. Female winner, Caitlin Rossi, she goes 5 hours, 58 minutes. And then the 2x50K, John Milburn, 9 hours and 5 minutes. 3 races at 100%, people. And then the female winner for the 2x50K, again, Lydia Meyer Turkson, 13 hours and 8 minutes. So Lydia grabs the marathon and the 2x50K win, and then John gets all 3. And then the outdoors 50K Frozen Folly, we have a different men's winner, Scott Johnson Yazufuk, 5 hours and 19 minutes. And then the female winner, Emma McLean, 6 hours and 38 minutes. So John did not want to go outside. He has like indoor warrior, treadmill warrior. I'm going to sweep on the inside stuff, but I ain't going outside. It's too cold for this thing. So those are all the race results. Yeah. So I don't, there you go. There you have it. Boom. All right. We're wrapping this episode up with a Mount Monadnock trail report, and we're going to do the Mount Monadnock Heartbreaker race recap, because I was kind of out there. So the trip report, the trail report. Went out with Connor Brown, Lyle Cortez. We did white arrow up, white dot down, and then white dot back up, white arrow down. And the trails were like beautiful. Up top, it was a little bit icy. And honestly, all three of us kind of like we don't know the trails super, super well. So kind of getting off trail, little ice patches here or there. But once you got down off of the summit, it was like awesome trails, a little bit loose, but it was almost like good for like slide. Like descending was awesome today. Getting close to that packed out highway. I just had my studded trail runners the whole time. So I never threw on spikes. I think both of them had spikes on, but they were really good conditions. So a little bit of freeze thaw going on the next couple days. If we don't get snow, Monadnock is looking really good on those two trails. But the Mount Monadnock Heartbreaker race, I think this is the first edition, Valentine's Day Heartbreaker race. It's an up dot. It's an up down on white dot, which is like awesome. White dot is so iconic, legendary. And it was a smaller race. So I think there was a 50-person cap. I believe it was sold out. So there were people on the wait list that I don't think got in. But it was an exciting race. The race started at 9, and we got to the base of white dot at 8:50. And Connor actually picked up an ultra running magazine that he was in. So Eli Barakian did a write-up on the Ascutney vertical backyard. And so Connor Brown is like the man in the ultra running mag, which is super cool. So Sarita had a hard copy for him, so we picked it up. And then we were just there right before the race started. So we got to see all the guys go off. Didn't do like a full, we'll just go through the results after, but basically they all went off. We hung around for a handful of minutes and then we started up. So we're in there, like there were photographers set up and they were kind of taking pictures of us. Like we were like, we're not in the race. I guess free pictures. I don't know. Maybe if I go to the Heartbreaker website or whatever, I'll get some free photos, but we were kind of in the race. You know, we started at maybe like 9:05. So we're going up and we passed some people going up. Everyone, there were some messages in the snow like, you know, go faster, good job, all that stuff. And then there was one, maybe like a third of the way up Mount Monadnock that said almost there. That was the meanest thing you could have written there. I mean, I would assume most people in the race have been up white dot, but if you hadn't been up white dot and you're like, oh, we're almost there, they weren't even close. It was like barely at the steep part. So we thought that was funny. So we were going up and then we got to see a handful of people start, you know, bombing down. So when we were halfway up white dot, it was Travis and Walter Mahonen. They were neck and neck. Like Walter, I think, was maybe 5 seconds behind Travis, bombing on the way down. And then Stieg Bertram, who is a listener, shout out. And we all like, we haven't met our whole group. We haven't met him, but we kind of like deduced that it was him in third. And then Peter Benito was in fourth coming down. And then, so how the men's race turned out, it looks like the up down Strava crown for white dot, it was a tie between Walter and Travis, 38-15 and 38-15. Like they both got it today. I think Travis etched him out by a couple seconds. Potentially, this is not the official results. We'll have to go back to the replay. But yeah, they go 1-2, which is like no shock. Those guys are just insane athletes, mountain runners. And then Stieg Bertram comes in third. He goes like 42, a little bit over 42. So ripping. And yeah, Connor was kind of saying, yeah, I think Stieg is in high school. Like he's a young guy just putting up, I looked at his Strava, putting up crazy numbers on Strava, ripping up and down white dot. So shout out to those guys. They just had crazy rips up and down. And then I think Peter Benito came in fourth. And that was all the people that I could see on the segment. And then for the women's, Ashley Bertram comes in first. And then, oh no, I'm messing it up. We may have to, I'll cut this. And then Monica Ares comes in second. They were the two on the Strava segment. I think Monica was about a little over 54, and then Ashley was a little over 53. But yeah, awesome race. And yeah, Ashley Bertram. The Bertrams, the Mahonans, these are just classic Monadnock crushers that just we saw Lyle out there too. He was in the race. So yeah, lots of Monadnock crushers out there. And it was cool to see a race like that. I don't know how they got that permitted. Well, I guess with the state park, it's probably easier because they're all already kind of uh I guess pro capitalism. You always got to pay to go to Monadnock usually, but yeah, no, it was cool to see that race kind of just pop up, a good local race, and I think I kind of ran it. We were in the mix, we were unofficial in the mix, but I think we kind of ran it. So that was a race recap. That was the trip report. That's how we're gonna end the episode, and hopefully enjoyed. If you stuck with us this far, a little 2-hour banger. If you stuck with for the full 2 hours, shout out. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Okay. Do you want to just talk into your mic real quick?
Microphone check 1 2. What is this? The punk's getting tough with the roughneck business. Styles upon styles is what I have. You tried to do the snow marathon, but you only finished half.
That may be our new intro song right there.